And today we got a lot of stuff done in the shop. Number one, we got to visit with Turbo Steve. He picked up his part. I took a few minutes and buffed it out, and he picked it up and donated another gallon of clear to our ongoing projects that we're doing for other people and ourselves. And we got to work on the MT09 windshield, the Evil Twin. I have two complete windshields now. I can switch them in a matter of about a minute and a half. So that was an accomplishment, and the buffing out of the windshield could not have gone better. So as the day played out, family stuff ultimately won in the end. It's going to be a fun day. We're going to buff out, and hopefully if it doesn't rain or snow, it's really cloudy out there now. What's going to happen is I hope I can get a photo shoot with the new windshield, and once that project's done and I'm happy with it, move on to the next part of it, which will either be the extra windshield or the side covers. I don't know if I have enough material to make side covers yet, but I guess we're going to find out in the next day or so. Now, we really have had a lot of fun with the kids here in the bed and breakfast and working on these windshields. And Luciano, I know because he talked to me this morning about paint, what color he's going to paint the wheels, and on this secret bike that he has, he doesn't want anybody to know about. All he promised me, he said, there is nobody in our group that has this bike. And the only other thing he's saying, it's a twin. So you figure it out. But maybe we'll sneak up there over the weekend and take a look at it. Anyway, I have the sticker for the other windshield. I have to buff it out yet. I want to install it. I don't know what time, if any, if Turbo Steve's going to be able to make it today. We usually talk and chit-chat for a while, but the day'll definitely end on, I want to get some photos of the bike. Because what we're doing, John is already working on, I want to get the bike finished so I can make t-shirts up. And so we'll be, of course, like we do with most restorations, we'll have a dedicated t-shirt for the project. It should be a lot of fun. Now, Luciano, of course, in the last year or so has had some serious health issues. And I know having a new bike to work on, it keeps you young. Not only that, it keeps you healthy. And in my case, I love waking up in the morning, especially if it's a summer day, knowing I can take my choice of any of these bikes that I have in this humble collection and just head out on the open road. Or if it's winter and bad weather, I'll have something to work on and maybe some friends come over to hang out with. And if you don't have a project to work on, you wake up in the morning and usually you eat too many donuts. That's the problem with not having a project. Well, it's time for our extra cup of coffee in the morning and see how those muffins are if they're ready to take out of the oven. It smells good in here. Let me see those muffins. Here in the bed and breakfast, we serve nothing but freshly baked muffins to our guests. These are really, Stacy makes these for us on a regular basis. But in a bed and breakfast, you have to keep the customers happy. So we're going to buff that out, but I hear there's a big mouse upstairs, either a big giant mouse or Turbo Steve is already here. And then I got to change that sticker out. I don't know if I want the big one or the little one, but we're going to work on Turbo Steve's stuff. I think he bought some paint too. But without that coffee, we won't be buffing anything out today. Okay, so Steve brought over a Gavco. We've used this before. It's good. And you got the fast hardener, right? Let's see, fast. Okay, because Luciano bought the medium, and it was okay, but it just takes longer to dry. Don't knock the ceiling. Tell us the story of the...
Your house is sinking.
The invisible turbo. No, you're getting taller.
Here, I can walk under here.
No, you can't. No.
Your house is sinking.
Luciano wants to know why you bought two extra turbos. Is there a story we don't know about?
Two extra ones? No.
Well, I told him you bought two.
I just saw a ton of parts on sale. Not on sale. For sale. And on the Facebook, one of the Facebook groups, so I texted the guy, said I'll take it. I don't even bargain. I don't bother. I take it. So I got an engine, two frames, all kinds of body panels, two fairings.
No titles, or you got a title?
Bill of sale.
Oh, okay. So you can register in Vermont. That's all.
But one of the frames is new, so it doesn't have a. You can't really title it. You have to take your title from your frame.
Oh, okay, and switch it. Yeah.
Because it doesn't have a serial number stamped on it.
So while Turbo Steve was here and we were chit-chatting about his future project, which we're going to have in shop at some point in time, and his ongoing adventures in the world of motorcycling. Anyway, I did get some 2000 grit paper. I sanded this down for him, and I buffed it out for him while he was hanging out here. We were chit-chatting, and
lying to each other about how much money we have in the bank or whatever. But anyway, it did come out pretty good, but the paint is still on this one, because there's so much primer on it. The paint was still a little soft, so you got to put it by a heating vent. And speaking of heating vents, our part is up by the heating vent, and I want to get that buffed out today, if at all possible.
So I got Turbo Steve's part buffed out, but because there was so much primer on it, the paint was so thick, it really should actually sit up by a heating vent for some days, which no problem. It buffed out, but it really didn't buff out the way it should because the paint's not fully cured yet. So we're going to take this part now. Next thing is we're going to buff this out, and I hope we'll have enough to get a photo shoot today.
So after Turbo Steve left, I went over to the computer. I got some email and some photos from Stefan in Romania. And thinking about Romania here, he was complaining it was 48 degrees and there was snow on the side of the road and salt. Well, welcome to the world I guess we all share with the world of motorcycling. Anyway, here's his Suzuki and a track day photo. And he mentioned he does want to get a van, and he does want to do more track days, so I guess that's the direction that he's taken. But it looks like there is a lot of snow in Romania right now. So I'm sanding out the part, 2000 grit in Dasa, and that is always the material of choice. I got rid of the stick that was holding it as a handle. We were using that handle. And this part of it gets time consuming. Even you can put it all the fast forward you want. It still takes a lot of work to get all the angles and edges and corners and get everything flat. Because at the end of it, if you miss any spot, I don't know. And in a case like this, I want the part detailed out. I don't want to go through any of the high spots, any of the mountaintops. So I'm doing it very, very carefully, doing it, very delicately, I guess is the right word. Because, again, a part like this, it's not something that you can just take a big tool to. It's just this part of it. All has to be done by hand, and it has to be detailed. Every little part of it, if there's little shiny spots, you've got to get them dull if you want to have that overall gloss, where from one side of the part right to the other, it's totally glossy. And in this case, the clear that's over the new trim that I put on, over that silver trim, I wanted to make sure if I rub my hand over that, it would be an exact match to the gas tank, that I would have absolutely no way of, if you closed your eyes, you couldn't feel that trim. And as the way it worked out with the 2000 grit in Dasa, it takes a long time. It takes more time than you think it does, but when you're done, it makes the buffing very easy.
Now, this is usually one of the more time-consuming parts of the job, is to get this flat. Notice I wanted to show this. I didn't even touch this with sandpaper, because that if I start buffing this and I rub on here, I'm going to buff that mountaintop right down. But all of the little fillet areas that we built up, they look like they really came out nice. The edges came out nice, and this is the part of the job. This part of it, being patient, sometimes you really have to tough it out. But we're ready to buff now. And this is the paste that I like, the whatever you want to call it, compound cutter, polish paste. This is a product, and I know you can't buy this conveniently a lot of places, but this product really works well as any of the real popular ones, even the one that Dale contributed. They all work well, but this is kind of like the devil, I know, and you can do it by hand or by machine, either way. Now, I always like to show in real time the hand buffing part of this. Let's do that first. Take the material, of course. Pick any spot, it doesn't matter. We're going to buff the whole thing out. Put a little material on, and I always use too much. To be honest, I always use too much. I think you could use a lot less. Having clean microfibers is important, and to be honest, I like buffing things by hand, because there's no chance you put big gouges or things in where these edges are, and some of this I can do by machine, but basically I want to show how long it takes just to get the shine to come up. And if it's in real time and there's no camera cuts, I always think that's a lot more believable than
some of the things I've seen where they cut out the part that's hard. They don't show you that part. So this is one. We're going to do one little spot in real time. And probably some of this we could do with the machine here. I can at least show that anyway. But anyway, this is it. No matter how you do it, and it doesn't matter. Maybe you'd prefer doing it this way. See, I like doing it this way because I buffed out so many model planes this way that it just gets to be, actually in reality, the devil you know. That's the bottom line. Now the trim that we painted yesterday, you can't feel the edges at all. And we did sand this already with 2000 grit, so it has a nice flatness to it that it would not have had if we left out that step or if we somehow skipped over it. Let's just see if it's our lucky day. Okay, now there's no camera cuts here, and I'm not sure. I can never really tell if you can. Yeah, I got to get in a different position here. If you can see how quick the shine came up, well, that's the bottom line with everything. Now, because this part has a lot of flat spots, I can just do a little demo here. It'll be nice. This is a pad, used pad. We'll use that for something else, but whenever we have soft new paint, always good. These are all Harbor Freight things. A new pad, they're only a couple of dollars, and the chance that you're going to take and scratch new paint or put a gouge in it, because what'll happen if you use the old pad, this hardens up into what amounts to be little chunks, and you wind up putting a swirl or a chip or something in it. These are good. You want to polish aluminum, they're fine, or you want to go polish a car, say. But on the stuff we're doing, I want it to be perfect, or as good as I can get it anyway. So again, I've seen on people that really know, I've seen every possible thing that they say put the compound or the polish on the pad, put 5 dots, put it around the edge, put it in the middle. I've seen, and everybody seems to develop their own little technique. Now this, I'm just showing mine. There's nothing special about this, but the edge of this is going to do all the work. In here, yeah, you could put polish. It's not going to really matter though. But the edge is going to do all the work. Now another thing, and this is, I'm going to do a spot in real time just so you see we did one side. Again, he puts on too much polish. I don't think you need that much, to be honest. But the extra, we'll just work it around. But I wanted to show, again, one in real time so you could compare. And that's the bottom line of everything, is figuring out how you want to do this. Let's just see if this is going to work. Probably if you do it with a machine, it's going to be a little faster. And let's see how this paint buffs up. That's the bottom line. And again, I'm going to do this in real time, and then I'll do the rest either in fast forward or just skip over it, because it gets pretty redundant after a while. Let's just see for our own comparison. A clean one to get some of the polish off. But I think you can see basically they both buff up relatively equally, and I would say you don't want to go over that edge. That's the main thing. You don't want to run. This is what you don't want to do with a buffer. Or this, and you pull the paint right off the edge of it. So from here, it's just going to be, I want to buff this whole part out. I want it to be as beautiful as I can make it. Then I'll get suited up and go out to the garage and do a test fit and maybe get a little photo session going so I can see how this is going to look. But you never know, the weatherman could change that in a hurry. And no matter what you do, if you do part of it with the buffer, part of it with by hand, or all by hand, or all by buffer, I guess you could do it all different ways. But this little handheld buffer from Harbor Freight, under $20, yeah, if you're doing flat areas like this, or areas where you don't have a lot of sharp edges, it's really worth it. But the reality is, in the end, I'm so fussy that all the corners and edges, they really have to be done by hand. or you really do run a risk of going through and making yourself a repair. And you only have to do that once or twice, and then you learn how to buff by hand a little bit better. But either way, a combination of both always seems to work. Well, it looks like all that hard work and patience is starting to pay off. That really came out nice. And I've got to put that sticker on now. I want to see if I want to use the big one or the little one. And then we'll be ready to go outside and put it on, and hopefully it won't be raining or snowing. We'll be able to get some photos. Now, at the end of buffing out any part, it doesn't matter what part it is. Do it by machine, do it by hand, do it combination of both. I always like to look at it from every possible angle and see that I miss a spot. Is there something, a scratch, a fingerprint, something I can get off? No matter how many times I do this, when I'm done with a part, there is a feeling of accomplishment when you've got a part buffed out that's hard to describe. Now that we have them both done, this is our evil twin part, of course. And what I like the smaller logo. I've had the bigger one on already, and I need to put a little contact cement on these. Once you heat gun them off at least once, you got to put a little spray contact cement on them. But having it side by side, and see the bigger logo is, I'm not sure. I like the little one better. But boy, having them side by side, you can see just how much of a difference just that the little stripe, the little winglets, and when we go to switch parts out, it's a question of 2 minutes, and I can change the whole look of the bike. Now, whenever you're going to take these logos off, it's always a great idea to use a little heat. Peel them up from the edge very, very, very carefully, because especially the Yamaha one has a silver backing that if you're not careful, half of the backing stays on the part, and the heat makes it a little bit easier. Now, this was a surprise because I had taken this off carefully. It went back on. I didn't even have to put any contact cement on it. That's pretty unusual for these logos. Yeah, I had Karen come down and check these two out, and she says, put the little sticker on. I think she's right. And my friend John Cafaro, who was a designer of the Corvette for many years, professional car designer, he would tell me over and over how important it was on a car or on a motorcycle to get the badging right. The badging, he called it. To get those parts right, sometimes a car company would spend a lot of hours figuring it out and a lot of artistry involved. And the logos on this bike, I wanted them to match perfectly. Now, as can happen all the time here in my family, we have some family stuff that came up unexpectedly, and I think the pod is walking away by itself there. Anyway, we are going to postpone this till tomorrow because I don't want to rush out there. I'll be gone for long enough. It'll probably be dark when I get back, so we'll cut our losses. I think we got this done today. I was so happy to get this done. This is one more step of that project, and it's coming out great. And this is another day. I don't want to rush things. I want this to be one step at a time, and I want everything. Just when you rush it, you kind of lose the fun of doing it. That's the problem with everything. And I don't want to lose the fun. So after everything's done tonight, the family's going to have a bed and breakfast cookout. Rob has decided to grill for us. I'm looking forward to that. Actually getting hungry now, but this day really turned out great, and I just love knowing that windshield is ready to install tomorrow, and we'll get to do a photo shoot. So let's see what you're cooking here, baby. Oh, bed and breakfast time. Wow. Wow. That looks good. Fabuloso, baby. Good. Is it good staying at this bed and breakfast? Here at the bed and breakfast, we are living large. It's like summer is already here. If you've never run a bed and breakfast, you don't know what you're missing. It just couldn't be more fun. And a veggie salad by Grammy. Just another day in the bed and breakfast as the sun sets in the west. sing, kids. I'm moving out. How long you been in chorus now, Miles?
He quit.
He quit.
He's out.
Go watch the world go up in smoke.
Go! So because we were dealing with that little Yamaha logo today and going back and forth, I thought I'd share some information, and some of this came from John Cafaro, and he had gotten me these Ferrari stickers when we decided to do the 2 Ferrari bikes. And of course he's a Ferrari owner himself, so he had access to some cool stuff. And these were real Ferrari stickers. They were not like from China rip-offs made out of masking tape. And I also had these little aluminum, I think they were brass or aluminum, the little, for the bikes that I had restored, I had put one on every bike. And one of the things I wanted to do, and I wanted to do this muffler, here's the R1 when it had the black wheels. Well, tell me the silver wheels didn't upgrade that bike. And I even had it on the 2-stroke mufflers too, and on when we had the bike all cafe'd out and loud and ripped and snorting, and we had the loud exhaust on the R1. I had these badges made. Now, the West Cooley bike, John Pothier, of course, laid out the badging. The badging on my track bike. This is the bike that got painted green. Now, every one of these is a Ferrari logo on the front. Every one of these, even on the helmet. At one point in time, that was the big focus of my evil twinning. I had the bikes looking like Ferraris, and you could take the badges on and off. There's other things that just made it a lot of fun for the time. But now, here's one of the things worth sharing. Here's a Yoshimura muffler. This is the muffler that came with the bike, with the FCR. The bike ran fine with that muffler. It was a little quieter than with the Norton muffler, but I wanted to have my own badging on the muffler. So I had these, John Pothier laid them out. I had them done by a sign shop locally in Hasbrook Heights, and I can see the date on this is 2014. And these, they're made out of thin brass. You can cut them, and of course you could put anything on it. You can put your own name if you're so inclined, or whatever. In this case, I wanted to make it look like a Ferrari. So having this on the badging on the muffler, pretty labor-intensive thing to do this. This is, when you go to do it, you find out, ooh, there's a lot of work. Because the badge has to be bent, and it has to be perfectly even on the end. It can't have any sharp edges or anything. But here's the whole thing. Once that's done, and you've got the shape right. First, you have to get the shape of the muffler right. It's got to go the exact diameter of the muffler. And this is going to go right over the Yoshimura. I'm going to take that Yoshimura badge off, and then I have to roughen it up with a Dremel tool, because what will happen, see, I found a can that I could bend it around this can, and it's got to assume that diameter, or it's just not going to work out. See, now it fits on that diameter of the muffler real nice. Now, that's got to be roughened up, and so does the muffler. And a Dremel tool is the tool of choice to do that. And then it's got to be JB welded on. Or, in this case, I don't remember if I used CA. Maybe I put it on with CA. But JB weld would be also a good choice. And getting it roughed up, getting the edges exactly right, where here's what happens is when you cut that material, you got to run a Sharpie marker around the edge of it. And then I wanted to clear coat it. So I took the clear coat, the Gavco, mixed up the Gavco, then while it was drying, took this part off, this badge, and I had to grind off the rivets. Sounds like this is a lot of work, and you know what it is. That's a carbide cutter. That's one of the ones that's about $10. And grind off the rivets, and this now becomes a lot more work than you think, because I wanted to get this off and salvage it. I wanted to keep that just for fun, just as a little memento of the bike. And I had to roughen that up so that and I thought I used JB Weld, but maybe I did use CA, I don't know. I guess we'll find out here. Roughen that up, and once it gets a good tooth, of course, then you could, there you go, right there is the material. And I'm so glad I took all these photos years and years ago, because this brought back great memories of doing this project. Carburetor cleaner is a good way to clean it. And of course, the polishing of the aluminum, if any gets overboard, you can do it with that mag polish, the mother's mag polish. And here's the final badges getting buffed out. Of course, sanding with 2000 grit and buffing them out. It's amazing how much time and energy I put into this badging back in the day when we were having these two Ferrari bikes. But that was a lot of fun. Back then, we all had fun with this. All of my friends had fun with it. We used to tell people at gas stations it was a real Ferrari. There was more fun than you could imagine. We even had some guys with real Ferraris convinced it was a Ferrari. And I had the hats and the belt buckles and everything going on too. But one of the things that happened when it was all done, this bike sounded absolutely great. I can't forget it, how great it sounded. And I just love having all these old photos on my computer, all this video and all the stuff on YouTube, if that wasn't enough. Because I love to, at the end of a day like this, when the day is over and I've had a good day, look back at some of the fun I've had. And I've had so much fun with this FZR. This FZR was just you couldn't imagine how much fun it was convincing people, hey, I even have a Ferrari shirt here. And then we had the R1 Ferrari logos on it and everything. And it was just a lot of fun. And you know, the bottom line with all motorcycling, I think, is a lot of people lose sight of it. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be safe and fun. And for me, I got so many years out of this FZR. And so when I did that 900-hour restoration to make it yellow now and add it to the collection as a yellow bike, not a red bike, but having these memories, the memories of these days, and knowing I can just go to my channel, type in FZR, and up comes so many memorable videos and rides and pranks we paid on people. It was great.